You are listening to Beyond the Verse, a Star Citizen podcast. A show dedicated to Cloud Imperium games, Star Citizen, and Squadron 42. Whether you fight, explore, unite, and or trade, we bring you news, updates, interviews, reviews, and analysis. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a pour of Radegast, and join us as we go Beyond the Verse.
Launch sequence activated.
Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 44 of Beyond the Verse Star Citizen podcast. I'm your host, Solus, and happy February. We are, 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks into 2024, 2954, and it's a pleasure to have you listening in on today's episode. We'll be covering quite a lot today. We're going to be getting into this week in Star Citizen, this month in Star Citizen, which is, I'm pretty sure, brand new, but we're looking out and forecasting what happens in February. We'll be reacting to Inside Star Citizen's 323 preview, basically over EVA and the personal interactive environment and system. And then we'll end with the Galactapedia update. We'll go through the full article and the 20 short articles. But it's going to be a fun-filled episode. And I'm also done predicting how long these will last, because last episode I'm like, hey, it's going to be short, there's not a lot to cover, and it still ended up being about an hour and 15 minutes. So this one will probably be around an hour and 15 minutes as well. Also, Org Night 07 is published. That was last night. We went at Siege of Orison for a second time. So fun, shenanigans, our personalities, collide in a good way, in a fun way. But we were unsuccessful in defeating Siege of Orison this time, and not because of a 30K. But another, I'm going to say, a glitch in the system. So I'll let you listen to Org Night 7. It's very entertaining. We just could not find the lieutenants on Heartmoor. I think it's Heartmoor, the second to last platform. And so we went at it with, I think it was like 14 or 15 people. We capped out at like 15 people last night and cleared every single building. Pretty sure the lieutenants were locked away in their spawn cabinets, but still had a great time. Go listen to it. It's a lot of fun.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
So we'll get started first with From the Community, like one of my favorite segments, and that's why I lead every episode with From the Community. But this is February, 2nd? This is Friday, February 2nd, so we do have a January show review, or January monthly show report. And so I already got out of Twitter, unfortunately. Let me get back into it. And I created, I'm calling it a value proposition. I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast. It's not always about business, but I like being transparent. I think you as a listener deserve it. Some of y'all actually like hearing it, but it also drives content creator collaboration, CIG developer collaboration. It helps with getting test items to use and demonstrate for you. So this is my pinned tweet. So if you go to my profile or Beyond the Verse Star Citizen podcast profile, this is what's pinned and what leads the conversation. But I just want to celebrate. I want to celebrate on podcast that we are at 43 episodes. Yes, this is the 44th episode, but we're at 43 episodes. We have 6 bonus Org Night episodes, and we are now across more than 54 countries. So it literally says 53 countries, and then there's an other bucket. So 54 countries or more listening in, over 13.2 thousand times on podcast and watching over 1.3 thousand hours on YouTube. So just wanted to celebrate you, the listener and watcher. I wanted to celebrate you, say thank you so much for your patronage. It's been a long journey. We're still not at a year old. We're still less than a year old, and it's already been extremely fun. We've had special guests Conif, Jorn, Astropub, Blasphemous, Authentic Yon, Star Jump, Galactica, and Space Tomato all on. And speaking of Space Tomato, right after recording this, I'll be on their podcast. With a few other content creators as well, predicting 323 and reacting to the ISC video as well. So it's gonna be a lot of fun, but it's a lot of podcasting this Friday morning. Going with like a tradition, I'm going straight into our Q&A and polls off of Spotify. So we'll start out with Org Night, Siege of Orison. Again, this is 2 Thursdays ago. We asked the question, have you noticed a difference in combat AI during the Siege of Orison event? So in the last several months, there has been improvements, at least we've read. There's been improvements with upping combat AI, FPS AI, even in-flight AI. I personally have not noticed much of a difference. And maybe that's because some enemy are trapped behind a spawn camp or a spawn cabinet, I think is what they call them. But it's just kind of easy to walk across a closet and shoot them all while they're standing in there. Happens quite a lot in Siege of Orison. And then also last night in Siege of Orison, there would be enemy in the bars on each platform that would be glitched and not able to maneuver within the bar, and so it was really easy just to walk up on them, put a couple of rounds in them, and be done with it. So I personally have not seen it. So again, the question, have you noticed a difference in combat AI during the Siege of Orison event? Half of you were perhaps, and the other half as same as before. So I'm in agreement there. Maybe they're sharper at shooting if they ever put rounds downrange. But I don't know. I just haven't seen it. So I wanted to ask that question. It seems like we're split, maybe sort of is the sentiment I'm getting. Let's go back to episode 43. For the Q&A, I asked, where do you see raids going in Star Citizen? What would you like to see added to raids beyond the teaser in CitizenCon 2953? And just a reminder for listeners and viewers, that SitCon video, it was actually with the underground facilities, the UGFs. It was it was a distribution center, I believe, actually. It was a distribution center where it was like a hub of all this activity. And so you'd bring in a crew, you'd run into the facility, you got a couple of boxes, and you delivered those boxes to the back of your ship. And of course, all the while defending against the enemy. So that was very awesome to see. It was more involving in than Siege of Orison. Goodness. Siege of Orison is kind of a rinse and repeat. You go to each platform, you kill lieutenants, you get the codes off their bodies, you open up connexes, you disable the anti-air. Move on to the next platform, right? Move on to the next platform. This seems like it's more involving with more game loops. So there's a reminder for that. Let's look at the answers. So Patrick Haraway, quote, I don't have an opinion on where raids are going. I played Siege of Orison last time. It was live and had a blast. It was buggy, but some of the most fun I've had in gaming. I'm here for it. I kind of like that approach, honestly. It's very easy to be in my seat or a content creator seat and do the surmising and predicting, and this is what I think is going to happen in 2024. And 9 times out of 10, we're all wrong. I kind of like Patrick's approach. Whatever happens. It'll be in front of us at some point. Had a good time whenever I dabbled in Siege of Orison. Let's go. I like it. The second response from Disowned, member of our organization, Soul Provision. Quote, raids on other planets and cities, along with the implementation of player-owned ships mixed in with the FPS. Also an option to raid exclusively with your party instead of having it open to randoms. All right, Disowned. I love it. I do. I love it. I'm going to politely and respectively push back on the last piece. Yes, I 100%. Raids on other planet cities. Yes, implementing more ships and FPS integration, right? Mixed reactions to an instanced raid. I have way too much experience doing raids in World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls Online, the instanced dungeon, the instanced raid. I don't know. There's something about Star Citizen and it being just this open world, real time, interactable environment or universe, right? And so I think if you instanced a raid, you're taking away from that opportunity, right? Not everybody is in an org like Soul Provision that has 15 people going into Siege of Orison. And I'm not saying you're saying that. It's just, I was that random at one point when I first joined Star Citizen. And I think one of my favorite experiences was actually doing that, arriving at Siege of Orison a year and a half, 2 years ago, walking onto a shuttle and just being a part of somebody else's organization. It made me want to join an organization. But I'll meet you halfway. Maybe this is an opportunity for Arena Commander, right? We see all these game modes in Arena Commander, and where that's more arcadish, like here's your 10 minutes, go execute. Why not throw in events like Siege of Orison, right? Could be an opportunity to expand on an already existing platform. So there you go. Much love, friend. Dakota Riley. Quote, I would love to see a raid event where a space station has been taken over by an enemy faction and you have to go clear the station out. So when I first read this a few days ago, I immediately thought of Port Olisar. Right? Like space station, it's been taken over by enemy faction. Maybe it was relocated during the building of Seraphim Station. Maybe, I don't know. But this would be a nice way to memorialize Port Olisar. Make Port Olisar a raid. Make it Siege of Orison, but up in space. In some sort of fashion. I actually really like that. So, yeah, and again, at the end of every podcast, I will ask a Q&A and a poll. I do like the involvement. I'm not always going to push back like I did on Disowned. It's good conversation. It's very good conversation. And on a podcast where I solo and don't have like a constant co-host, this is a really good back and forth. Had I had Disowned on here, we were talking real time, I would have pushed back in the same manner. I would have had that conversation. So there you go. I truly think this open world, like raids in an open world platform or an environment, I truly feel is the direction of Star Citizen. It's what's going to separate Star Citizen from everything else. All right, let's get into this week in Star Citizen. Sharing my screen for those of you on YouTube. Here we go. Cute little picture. Awesome. Not going to pronounce that word. I quit on alien language. All right. From the community manager, Niku. Reporting in after a week off as I have completed my move to the CIG studios in Manchester. They look wonderful. Can't wait to show you the office. And with me, I bring content. Last week was eventful for those who closely follow the development of Star Citizen. Alpha Live 3.22.0 Alpha was released to the live servers, and it came with several bug fixes for Siege of Orison, updates to the Santok Yai, increased damage output, and health of defense turrets around the PU, and more. Siege of Orison is back until February 5th. At the time of this recording, it's February 2nd, so you have until, I think that's Monday. So you and your organization, make it happen between now and February 5th, which is Monday. Get ready to dive into an action-heavy adventure that has turned the once idyllic city of Orison into a nightmare. Tech preview. This is important. I'm going to read this kind of slowly for both of us, probably more for my sake than yours. Tech preview channel, the replication layer and server crash recovery was tested this weekend. As planned, the server crashed, and after a few short moments, the recovery process worked and allowed players to continue their adventure as if nothing had happened. Thanks to everyone who helped us stress test the channel. We have gathered lots of data that will be put to good use that will bring improvements for the next set of playtests. That's huge. I read that as the replication layer is pretty damn close to releasing in Q1. There's a couple of videos going around of this debate whether, hey, are we going to see replication layer and server meshing this year? First off, the answer is yes. It's yes. Everything that I'm reading, all the CIG, it's Jared Huckabee's job to build hype. I get it. But everything I'm reading is pointing to, yeah, of course. Everything's already working. It's just a matter of putting it all together at the same time. The replication layer being tested and apparently working as intended is huge. Yes, this is a test environment. Yes, there's variables and control variables. Roger. But the fact that it's working means we'll probably see it between now and the end of Q2. Right? And I honestly think we'll see server meshing almost immediately right after that, because it's not like they're waiting to make server meshing. We saw it live. We saw it happen during CitizenCon. They don't have to wait around. Once replication layer is active, they literally just combine it or they put server meshing on top of it. I know it's more complicated than that. I get it, but it's being built simultaneously. It's a matter of executing all at the same time, and then we will see Pyro. So the fact that we're already seeing a working version of the replication layer, I need listeners and viewers to let that sink in. This was the last tech needed before server meshing. Should I get into server meshing? Okay. Yeah, so server meshing is like shard based. So when you join in on a server, you're on your own like version of a shard, and it's up to like 150 people on your shard. It's an instanced server if you want to think of it in that way. Server meshing is just meshing it all together. It makes shards kind of obsolete. They still exist, but it's a matter of meshing those shards, right, in one like simultaneous experience of a server. So it's the idea that I can put a package behind a tree on a planet and it'll forever be there, literally for everybody, not necessarily just for me and my shard. It's for everybody because the servers are meshed, right? It's a very dumbed down explanation. Let's get back into the article. Quote, we've also shared more stories about the system Pyro and its discoverer Pyrotechnic Amalgamated. Yes, more lore. Did read that last episode. So if you want to, go listen to episode 43. We have updated the Arena Commander schedule. Have you visited the new AC page already? Yes, I have. Thanks for asking. We actually have an org night where we all did Arena Commander for a couple days. The Versat War 2 Edition community event is back on February 3rd through 3 through 4. This time in a big way with the presentation of Germany, United Kingdom, France, and Spain as nations in the playoff to see which pilots are currently the top in Star Citizen. If you are not participating, you can enjoy the show over on Twitch thanks to Archvenger and other participant streamers. Finally, members of our community and development teams will be in Spain this upcoming weekend for Bar Citizen Barcelona. Oh darn, what an amazing trip to go to Spain. Word on the street is they are bringing lots of sweet loot that you will not want to miss. Join us at the Space Cowboy on Saturday, February 3rd. Fantastic. Moving on from now, let's see what's going on this week, and I just read the content schedule. Here we go. Monday was This Week in Star Citizen. Tuesday, Lore Post. We will end the show reading the Lore Post, which is the Galactapedia update. Yesterday, which was Thursday, we have This Month in Star Citizen and the Inside Star Citizen video, which we will watch together and I will react to. And then today, I will miss this because of this podcast going into Space Tomatoes, but this today is Star Citizen Live, and it's a continuation of the discussion over Alpha 323. So it'll be nice to go back and watch it on video on demand. I would highly recommend doing that, as it's going to be developers talking about 323. So there you have it. I think when you list it out in the bullet point form, it doesn't feel like a lot of information, but it is. And you'll see some of the videos in the Galactapedia update alone. It's going to take us probably 15 minutes to get through. But you'll see through This Month in Star Citizen, Inside Star Citizen, you'll see a lot to discuss in 323. Let's get started. Clear my throat. Totally missed the mute button on that one. Sorry, guys. Okay, here we go. This month in Star Citizen, sharing screen. So this is somewhat new. I don't remember this being around for like this January or this December. I know there was not show notes. I know there were like updates, reports on November, December for Star Citizen Squadron 42, which we covered. So I know they combined them in those notes, but this is the first time I'm seeing like a preview of the upcoming month. Maybe it's new, but here we go. This month in Star Citizen Alpha 322.0 Alpha was just released, and there's more excitement lined up for the next month. February is filled to the brim with thrilling content, both in the verse and out, so we wanted to bring you up to speed. Read on. All right, so here's your Siege of Orison reminder. Join the civilian defense force today. Head over to the once idyllic Orison and fight back against the Nine-Tailed Gangs. Campaign of Violence. Play your part before the Siege of Orison ends on February 5th. Weekly shows return. Inside Star Citizen is returning with the first episode that will focus on the feature content of our upcoming Alpha 323 with a look at new EVA mechanics and the updated personal interaction system. Star Citizen Live is also back with an all about Alpha 323, where we'll be discussing the broad scope of work for the next patch. Bar Citizen World Tour. We just read that. They're starting in Spain and Barcelona tomorrow. Coremore is like the Valentine's Day event, just quickly. So Coremore 2954, Love is in the Air as Coremore, our in-lore Valentine's Day equivalent, thank you, returns to Star Citizen this year with some exciting new additions that are sure to win your heart. Participate in our screenshot contest by showing us where you would take your date in the verse, and you could win a vehicle that you'll absolutely adore. So Nowhere in Hurston. Next episode 45, we'll go over the lore of Coremore. So if you want to know more about where this came from, why Coremore, what Coremore, who Coremore, we will cover all of that next episode. And like we did 2 episodes ago, we did cover the Red Festival. We missed the mark. Like historically, it's been like the last couple of days of January and the beginning part of February. Yeah, we haven't seen anything about it yet, but we do have it mentioned here, so we are expecting it in February at some point, but significantly after 2952s and 2953s. So here we go. Red Festival. We are saying goodbye to 2023 and starting 2024 with a fresh adventure at the Red Festival 2954. As is tradition throughout the UEE, the Banu have hidden red envelopes across Stanton and are offering a variety of red and gold ship paints to tempt good fortune in the coming year. What ships do you hope receive this paint job? And again, the paint job is it's like a red and gold. It's not bad. It's actually a really cool color combination. I'd be interested to see which ships get it. That to me, that color combination, red and gold, isn't really luxury in my opinion. So I wouldn't necessarily put them on any Origin ship. Could be wrong. We'll see it. Well, we'll see it soon. But I don't know. I don't think when I think luxury, I think like white and blacks, white and blues, kind of like a Tesla color combination. I think blacks and silvers, blacks and maybe golds. But I don't know. Like yellows and reds don't really speak luxury to me. Let's keep going. All right, with the Red Festival comes a flea fly. Oh man, here we go. Fly for free and a referral bonus. So we'll see that this month as well. So fly for free. Quote, need a few more friendlies on your wing? February brings our latest free fly. So let all your prospective pilots know that they can jump into the verse and at no cost. Referral bonus. Do it and you get stuff. There you go. To ring in a prosperous new year as part of the Red Festival, we're inviting you to join in our Lunar New Year 2024 referral promotion. Our latest referral bonus will give you and the new player you refer a Drake Dragonfly Black, the Red Alert armor set with an undersuit and a backpack plus a shotgun for free. Pretty cool. The Dragonfly is not a bad ship. It's obviously a ground asset. I think you can actually fly it in space too. I could be wrong. I thought you could call it to a hangar. I might have to test that out after the show. I'm pretty sure you can fly that in space. I don't know why you would, but I remember calling mine at a orbital station before. Anyways, this was also what you sat on at CitizenCon 2953. So it's not going to be the color combination, obviously, but it is the Dragonfly Black. So it's fun. It's fast. It's fun. And it looks like Jumptown's coming back as well. Jumptown reopens. The chaotic carnage or quaint cues of the community favorite global event returns. So gather your org mates for another foray into Jumptown. Keep an eye out for more details as the race for maze-filled mayhem returns later this month. And so we went from Siege of Orison basically straight into Jumptown. Now is the time to get involved into organizations. Now's the time. Not saying supervision is for you, but we have seats available. And at 15 players per org night, which that's Thursday nights at 9 p.m. U.S. Central to 11 p.m. U.S. Central, when we have room. You obviously can have more than 15 people, and it's a lot of fun with the more people you get. Communication is a little bit more interesting when you have 15 people on. It's very, very hard to drive, distance and direction, task and purpose, when there's 15 people on Discord. But I don't think that's unique to Star Citizen, right? Every game does that. Good transition into Inside Star Citizen for this week. Everybody's talking about it. This is it. Everybody is in the community is talking about Inside Star Citizen from last night. 323, Jared Halkaby and the developers get into EVA and the personal interactive environment and system. So we're just going to watch this together, and I'll pause it like I always do. I pause it, we'll react to it, and we'll go from there. But let me read the article real quick. This is a short little paragraph, and then we'll get started into the video. Here we go. Sharing my screen. How will the new EVA mechanics and updates to the personal interaction system dramatically change the way you interact and traverse the verse in Alpha 323? Join us for our first Inside Star Citizen episode of the year to find out. Let's go.
It's a new year, and with every new year comes the refresh after holiday break, the review of process and personnel alike, and the renewed sense of determination to make each year of Star Citizen's development even better than the last. And in 2024, that includes the return of so many Squadron 42 developers to our persistent universe fold, all of which are working to add their features and advancements to the
Already pausing. Did y'all hear that? Moving a significant portion of Squadron 42 efforts into Star Citizen's PU. It's going to be a good year. It's going to be a good year.
Already stellar work of the SC devs we all know and love. And so to get this multi-month marathon started, let's throw it now to Chris, Alexis, Gennady, Inez, and Kian of the eponymously named Team Kian to show us a bit of what they're working on for Alpha 323.
So we showed a lot of interesting things in CitizenCon, and a lot of which is from Kian's team. We're going to be bringing a lot of that to you guys soon this year, and we're going to be talking about the designs of those features and also how we went about making them. You're going to be doing a lot of these the next 4 months, aren't you?
Yeah.
The old EVA system had its purpose, but it had a lot of problems.
So the old EVA was not quite controllable.
The entry and exit into EVA not being very smooth, a lot of face planting. Changing orientation.
I have done every single one of
really
those.
Knew which kind of way your body was in. The upright pose was a little bit awkward for traversing spaces as well. You couldn't really fit into narrow spaces, and it was a bit restrictive for transitioning around space stations and things like that, especially interior spaces.
In addition to that, the sort of volume you take in order to rotate and look around is huge. It's basically rotating your body every time you just look to the right, look up, etc. That doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look great, and it doesn't feel wonderful if you're in a confined space because, again, you're clipping against everything.
just don't really think it fit with what we want to do in our game.
It's not a bad system. It got us to where we are today. But we want to make improvements, and there are other features and systems that we need to tie into EVA, which brings us to what's coming this year. So there's more.
All right, so they're not going to talk about this for those of you on podcast, so I'm going to try to describe it to you. But the new EVA system looks as though you're swimming. So imagine a scuba diver, obviously swimming towards an objective. It's that prone position, maneuvering within water. That's the look. That's the aesthetic that they're going for in this game. So if you can imagine a scuba diver, again, going towards their objective, if something were to happen behind them, what would they do? They don't go from like horizontal to vertical and then turn. They're gonna roll on their back, and so that they can see between their legs behind them, right? It's the same thing in the military, right? In your prone position, you don't sit up and give yourself a bigger silhouette. You're in the prone position, and if you have to shoot behind you, you roll over on your back, and then you obviously shoot between your legs, right? Same concept. So if you're able to envision that, this is the aesthetic that they're going for.
Multiple aspects of the new EVA system that makes it a lot more versatile. The first is that when you start looking around, it's your camera and your head that's moving. Your body, most of the time, doesn't. So if I'm heading in a certain direction and I want to see what's behind me, I can just look behind me, but I see my body. I get that instant frame of reference as to where I am, where my body is, and it just grounds the experience.
So with the new system, we put the player into a more prone pose, kind of a superhero pose. Makes them a much smaller silhouette when traversing around areas.
Can you show us how the EVA works? Show us how the EVA works.
So now EVA works like this. You move forward and you just fly.
How about when you turn, when you rotate?
And when you rotate, you're like...
The footprint of the character doesn't start to change. So if I want to look around in this tight-knit space, I'm not suddenly spinning around and knocking all the things off the shelves. I'm just looking around, which means that the metrics we can support for that feature suddenly become much more versatile. You can get on a vent rather than not being able to fit into a room. It's also a lot prettier. To watch someone who's got a weapon or just looking around, rotating around as they're doing so. From the outside, it looks better. From the player experience, it just really helps out. You know where you are and what you're doing.
We've smoothed out transitions entering and exiting EVA.
So I know this is a legit question. I know they're making a video. I know this is for demo purposes, but every time they've been in first person and have turned into EVA, it goes into third person camera. And just then you saw third person camera EVAing into a ship, and once they became vertical, it immediately switched over to first person. I'm just curious if the default when you're EVAing, does the default change to third person as a, again, as a default? I'm curious. Or are they literally just pushing F4, switching their view that quickly and that seamlessly? Maybe. That's interesting though. Like when I'm EVAing, I am more than likely going to be in third person regardless, so I can see around me. Especially if I'm moving forward and my camera doesn't move the direction I'm going. I want to make sure that I can look behind me and do all the maneuvering without going straight into a wall or an obstacle of some sorts. So just curious. I don't know the answer to that. That's just really interesting to me, and something they might discuss during Star Citizen Live today.
So no more face planting unless you really, really try.
In new EVA, you can just press forward and you fly. If you release the button, you keep flying while you still can rotate and look around.
Yeah, we've allowed it so you can turn on the spot without altering your silhouette, which is quite nice for interior traversal again. Feels a lot more natural, a lot more responsive to the player.
Yeah, we're going like this. Great.
The features we're going to be bringing out.
So they're about to transition into like EVA, but what does EVA look like when you're attached to your ship? It's we saw a little bit of this in CitizenCon. So if you've watched CitizenCon or were there at CitizenCon, this is not new to you. But it's it's what they're calling like spacewalk or space crawl. It's basically the prone position, but they're connected to the ship with their hands. It's almost like if you've watched The Expanse, the gravitational boots that keep them on a platform or on a catwalk. It's in their hands, so they're crawling almost like like an animal, right? But their legs are up in the back, so they're still prone. They're still in space, no gravity, but they're connected to whatever object they're connected to with their hands.
At some point later, soon. We've got zero-G traversal, and that's you attaching to a surface. In the previous system, again, because the character was upright the entire time, it just wouldn't have gelled well with that feature. You're effectively in prone, but attached to a surface, and you're moving along that surface or gliding along it if you sprint. That just transitions really nicely from the pose we have for zero-G traversal to the EVA pose. It's almost exactly the same. It's also very similar to prone. So, for example, if you were in an event and all of a sudden the gravity went out, you could crawl along it in zero-G traversal or move around it in EVA without changing what your body's doing, which just means that it's a far more seamless experience. There's a much less chance of anything going wrong as a result of that as well.
We've also introduced the EVA fuel and momentum. So once you start traveling forwards in one direction, you'll keep going in that direction until you press another input or the space brake to stop. This becomes especially important when we introduce EVA fuel. So you'll have a finite amount of fuel, and just that little boost could be enough just to get you back to the safety of a space station or your ship. It sets us up nicely for zero-G push-pull, which comes further down the line.
So in terms of what that means for user player and what you're going to be doing with this feature, it allows us to use EVA to get you going.
So two things I want to make sure we don't gloss over. One, fuel. So they're going to put a limit on how much you can EVA. It's not just infinite and, you can EVA for hours. It's going to be limited with the fuel. So that's a thing. But then you also heard zero-G push-pull down the road. So that is a functionality, or that is something that they're considering. Personally, I haven't read it, or at least I don't remember it from any notes. So just want to make sure that gets called out. When I hear zero-G push-pull, I'm thinking like, I don't know, you're in space and having to push or pull a cargo box. It shouldn't be without barrier or without some sort of consequence, because you are still lifting a mass. Even though it's zero-G, you are still moving mass with yourself. So does it change when you're trying to push or pull it in space? I don't know. The physics in my mind aren't really playing that out, but it looks like that's something that we can expect down the road. Very interesting.
Guys going from your ship to another ship, from your ship to an abandoned space station. You can fly inside ships and space stations without gravity now, without fear of bashing your head and your legs all over the place. It really makes it a much more smooth and easy to use system. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's just more fun. I enjoy just flying in and out of test levels between ships, etc. With the old system, it's a bit slow and lackluster. With this, I feel like I'm a superhero while I'm going around in space. So yeah, the new EVA feature, as you guys see it today, it's hopefully going to look even better once it gets into your hands. And yeah, we're really excited to see what you guys think of it.
All right, let's talk about PIS.
Well, it was better when it was PIS Pit.
It used to be PIS Pit.
Yeah, player interaction
PIS?
system. Yeah.
So let's talk about the new PIS.
Gotta stop saying.
I was too late to change it. I like to say PIS because, yep, sounds better.
I try to avoid HR complaints.
So the burning question is, what is PIS? Well, it's everything you interact with around you and how you go about doing that.
I'll say this now and then I'll shut up for the next couple minutes. This really came to light during Siege of Orison. Right, one of my pro tips I was telling you last week is you don't really have to kit yourself, fully whenever you get to the first platform. There's plenty of dead bodies, plenty of red boxes that you can, put on your persons, right? However, it's still very, very difficult to do that. It's very difficult to see a dead body and take time to figure out what you're interacting with, to throw it on your body, equip it, whatever, while you're getting shot at. It's very typical to not worry about loots or drops in Siege of Orison because you're getting shot at the whole time. So this absolutely comes at a very good time for me and my org, as we just did Siege of Orison last night, and we all experienced this. So it's exciting. It's going to fix a huge issue, a huge quality of life issue for us, for myself at least. Very specifically, but let's get into it. I'll shut up for the next couple minutes. We'll just watch straight through this.
It's not always easy to select the interaction that you're looking for.
You have to drag your cursor then to make your selection, and it's not really very fast or intuitive.
And in general, it got in the way of you doing what you wanted. It added an extra layer of menuing that wasn't necessary.
But there's some things that we wanted to solve, and that's what the new system does.
So with the new personal interaction experience, we have multiple ways of improving how you interact with the items around you.
So we've released little parts of the new system in the past with the pit wheel and the quick select wheels and the control hints. This is by far the biggest iteration on it and will totally change how you interact with things in the world. We've introduced the new interaction prompt, which will show you which item you will interact with by just tapping F, and will also show you the type of interaction that will be performed.
So the new system, the players don't have to go into interaction mode to interact with the objects.
We've updated that to have an on-screen icon. It gives you the input that you need to press, and it gives you an idea of what you're actually going to do when you press it. So that ambiguity of, am I in range? Is it the item I'm going to interact with? It's gone. You've got an immediate bit of feedback that tells you what you're going to interact with, what you need to press to interact with it, and what you'll do when you interact with it.
So if you're looking at a plushie on the desk, it'll show an F above it with grab, and you can just pick that item up with that. We've also introduced the personal interaction wheel, which, instead of the list view, will now give us a nice radio menu that lets you select exactly what you want to do in a much more intuitive manner.
And with the wheel, it's much more seamless, and it feels more like there's no barrier between you and the interactions.
And that's locked to the screen, so you can't miss. You're always selecting something, and it's 99% of the time what you want to interact with. Don't sneeze while you're pressing the button. It's much more intuitive, it's much easier to use. And that option, that problem I mentioned where if you're trying to interact with what's in your hand, that's gone. Now the new system just opens the wheel and you select what you want to do with what's in your hand. It just works.
So this new interaction wheel plays really nicely with default item actions, which has been in development for a while, but it needed the whole system to come together as one before we released it.
If, for example, you're out mining gems after blowing up rocks with your multi-tool, you might want to pick a gem up and look at it. Or you might want to just store it directly into your backpack. You now have the option to customize and say, when I look down at that piece of gem, show me the prompt. It's always going to show store, or it's always going to show carry or inspect. It's up to you. And you can change that on the fly, and it'll remember it, and it just allows you to customize your own experience.
Now the player doesn't have to go to interaction mode to make a selection. It can just simply tap to trigger the behavior.
The new system is entirely data-driven, so from our perspective, it makes it really easy to customize from a designer's point of view. And again, because we've set up that data, you can then customize it yourself.
It allows you to customize the primary and the secondary interaction. So you can change what just tapping F while looking at something does.
If the player changes the default item on that item, the selection will be saved across all the items that match that state and the item category.
It picks up on what you want to do with different item types. So if you want to cuddle a plushie, you can set that to be your default inspect. If you want to be picking up golden lemons and storing them directly whilst you're harvesting, you can set store to be your default, and then that's the way it'll stay. If you want to equip ammo as soon as you come across it to your suit, you can set that as your default item action. So it's something that, with a little bit of interaction from yourself, means that you can customize and tweak your own play experience and really rough out the edges in terms of your minute-to-minute gameplay and how you interact with things.
We've also introduced a new scoring system for interaction points that allows us to better select which interaction point is of interest to the player. This is based on distance from the player, angle to the cursor or center screen, and whether it's on screen or not. It also allows us to interact with things that aren't quite on screen, so if there's a trolley handle just below you, you'll be able to tap F and you should just grab it. This makes it a lot more intuitive. Something on the ground can have a different default action to something in your hand. This is all set up and customized through the interaction wheel.
And then obviously the player now doesn't have to go into interaction mode, drag the cursor, make the selection. It can just simply tap or double tap to trigger the secondary action, and that should be a much easier experience for the player.
We'll forget about what was there before. It'll feel like it has always belonged. You won't be able to live without it, really.
That's just some of the things our team has been working on over the last few months and bringing to SE Alpha 323.
We're looking at bringing you lots more stuff from our work on Squadron 42 into Star Citizen. We're really excited to get that into your hands to improve your overall player experience, the way you travel through the verse. Yeah, when you get your hands on it, please let us know what you think. We're really excited to find out.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that EVA looks sick. Sure, usually I'm a bit more eloquent than that, but damn, I'm allowed to mark out sometimes. That the way we interact with the persistent universe around us is getting a whole lot more intuitive and customizable. And that this new EVA, new default item actions, and new personal interaction system are just the beginning of what this spring's Alpha 323 has to offer. Yes, Virginia, it's gonna be a big one. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Be sure you check out tomorrow's Star Citizen Live, where we dive into even more Alpha 323 goodness, and we'll see you all here next week.
Love it. So I'm going to say what I will say in Space Tomatoes podcast in the next couple hours. Here's my opinion. So there's two main complaints in Star Citizen right now. One, it's 11-year alpha and it isn't released yet. Okay, great. The second one is that I hear most often is the game's buggy. Everything's very buggy. Okay. It's not so much that we need more or new features. There's already a lot to do in this game. I guarantee you, find an organization like Soul Provision that has many different facets of what we do, and you will find mining, salvaging, bounty hunting, merc, raids like Siege of Orison, Arena Commander. Like, there is something to do every single night that is so different from one another. That's not to me an argument, but everything that exists in Star Citizen right now is buggy. So I think there's two camps of excitement going into 2024 and for patch 323 and whatnot. The excitement of quality of life is driving me and my organization because it tunes in, it fine tunes. I'm trying to think of like the verb. But it hones in. It hones in on things that already exist. Let's perfect or attempt to perfect what already is in the game rather than throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. Now, I said there's two camps. There's also the other camp that's like, give me more. Because if mining is bugged at the current moment, let's move on to salvaging. right? You can play salvaging until the next patch when mining works and salvaging sucks. So there's this idea or dichotomy of give me more stuff because things break and there's more opportunities to do other things. And then the camp that I'm personally in is, well, let's get the quality of life updated and perfected so that way what we do have in the game is solid. And so when I see EVA, like, I don't know how many investigation missions I have been on where, you know, the orbital station investigations where you have to go in, you have to like swim, quote unquote, your way, you know, through levels, elevator shafts to find, you know, a laptop with code on it, right? It is miserable. you glitch into walls, you clip into, you know, obstacles. It's a nightmare. In fact, to the point where I don't really do those anymore. As cool as they are, as otherworldly as those are, and the immersion is amazing, I don't know. EVA has not been fun for me. This is exciting. As a quality of life improvement, this is exciting. I would be okay with a 2024 that was full of quality of life updates. Perfect what we got. But I think we're doing both. I think we're walking and chewing gum at the same time. I think we're getting QOL, quality of life. I feel like we're getting that, and we're also getting new game loops, new features, distribution centers is sometime this year as well. Like, we're getting a bunch of new stuff as well. So there's my reaction to this Inside Star Citizen. It's not the hype video that we saw in December as like the last Inside Star Citizen for last year. It's not that kind of hype, but it is the excitement of squaring away things that have been pain points for us in the Star Citizen community. All right, let's get into, I almost hit. So I've got a Stream Deck. This is funny. I've got a Stream Deck that has like my transitions, my windows, its sound effects, all of it, right? I have like an inappropriate one where if I'm just gaming with friends, you know, it's kind of funny to like do a soundboard and it's Will Ferrell, you know, in the Get Hard movies. I almost hit one of those. That would have been really awful for podcast. So on that note, let's get into the Galactapedia update that launched on Tuesday. That would have been hilarious. Okay, here we go. The Arc-Tyak system. Welcome to this month's Galactapedia update roundup. This month we visit the Bacchus, Geddon, and Galice systems. Meet navjumper Toshi Aaron, who's the founder of Stanton. Very important, and musician Sendo Guerrero, and dive into the history of the UEE's ban on artificial intelligence. That comes at a timely manner with all the other AI conversations happening in real life. Join the Spectrum thread for any discussion or feedback. Let's go. Hot and heavy. The full-length article and 20 short articles. The full-length article, the Artificial Intelligence Research and Production Restriction Act, popularly known as the AI ban. It's not a good start if I can't get through even that. All right, here we go. Everything I just said. The AIRPRA, the AIRPRA, we'll go with AIRPRA because that sounds cool, is a piece of legislation that places strict rules governing research on true artificial intelligence in the United Empire of Earth. Popularly referred to as the AI ban, it originated after the disappearance of the Artemis, a long-haul colony ship containing thousands of individuals in cryogenic storage. The AI that had been designed to monitor and pilot the ship was blamed, and politicians latched onto the restriction of AI research as a wedge issue to secure votes. Many countries went on to ban artificial intelligence over the next few decades. When the UNE was created in 2380, its architects included AI restrictions in its earliest laws. The UPE and the UEE kept AIRPRA in place during their formations, and it remains the law of the land. Overview. AirProd grants the Senate the authority to review and approve or deny all artificial intelligence research, commercial and non-commercial. It defines artificial intelligence as, quote, any software or hardware that can convincingly imitate intelligent human behavior, end quote. This broad definition places severe limits on any kind of research that can be done in the AI field and has effectively banned its production and use throughout the UEE. Specific guidelines include a ban on the reception of government funding for AI research, a requirement for Senate approval on privately funded artificial intelligence research. If approved, the research must be strictly supervised by the UEE Science and Technology Committee. A notice that approval can be revoked at any time. A ban on selling any product that displays signs of artificial intelligence. Any person found in violation of AirProd is subject to arrest and may be sentenced to imprisonment for 15 to 20 years. Corporations and research institutions found to be knowingly abetting AI research are subject to a sliding scale of fines and are subject to asset seizure. 1 second as I clear my throat. Good long delay for podcast. Let's get into the history. In 2043, the Ikara company launched a line of self-driving cars powered by what they claimed to be the first true AI. Sounds like Tesla. This differed from earlier products marketed as AI, which were deep generative models that could mimic the qualities of human intelligence, but did not truly possess it. This new AI, Ikara, promised, had the intelligence, good judgment, and fast reaction time with the most seasoned human drivers. The city of Tokyo was an early investor and purchased a fleet of cars and buses to bulk up their transportation infrastructure in areas too distant from train stations to be easily reached on foot. In 2044, while driving on a road on a high cliff, one of the Ikara buses made a wrong turn and plummeted over the edge to the sea below, resulting in 21 deaths. 15 minutes later, another bus followed, this one with 37 passengers aboard. Authorities contacted Ikara, and the company's technicians sent out an emergency command to force all self-driving vehicles in Tokyo and its outskirts to immediately stop without finishing their current trips. Vehicles not engaged in active trips stopped as commanded, but those that were transporting passengers at the time ignored the command and continued their trips to completion. Although the vast majority did this without incident, 3 more buses and 18 cars suffered fatal accidents before all vehicles in the fleet ended their trips and finally stopped moving. 113 people in total died. This became known as the Lemming Car Incident and resulted in the dissolution of the Ikara company. The nation of Japan banned the use of AI in self-driving cars, but similar bans would not be enacted elsewhere until deadly incidents caused by cars from other companies occurred in New York in 2044 and Johannesburg in 2047. With public distrust in AI high and investors unwilling to back AI-led ventures, researchers began to focus on its application in the sciences rather than day-to-day life. Goodness. In 2055, an AI helped to identify a type of bacteria commonly found in the digestive system of apex carnivores that was utilized to prevent prion diseases. Another AI helped synthesize a cure for rabies. One especially advanced AI was put in charge of calculating the spacecraft trajectories that ensured early missions to Mars were successful. These triumphs helped thaw public opinion and pave the way for AI usage in early terraforming platforms used on Mars. Designed to complete quick calculations and enact minute adjustments to the atmosphere, the Mars AI was notable for its ability to provide imaginative solutions to complex issues at a spin much higher than that of a human and with significantly lower margin of error. At the time, the team in charge of terraforming Mars credited the AI for the ease in which the project appeared to be progressing. However, On 13 September 2125, a miscalculation that was later linked to the AI led to the sudden catastrophic dissipation of the near complete atmosphere, resulting in the deaths of over 4,800 people. This event, also a time capsule we covered on the podcast, deemed the Mars tragedy in the press, again destroyed positive public opinion about AI and halted most ongoing development. In 2201, AI researcher Dr. Carol Zahir secured funding from private sources and began crafting a new type of artificial intelligence that she would name Janus. By far the most advanced AI of its time, Janus could hold conversations, draw conclusions, and make educated guesses at or beyond the level of a human. In 2228, Roberts Space Industries began construction of the Artemis, a long-haul colony ship that would rely on quantum travel to reach the potentially habitable planetary system codenamed GJ667c. Zahir reached out to the company and proposed that Janus serve as the nerve center of the ship. Given that it would take over 200 years for the ship to reach its destination, RSI agreed. This would allow all the colonists and crew aboard to remain safely in cryogenic sleep without forcing any one of them to grow old and die while they oversaw the journey. Break. I would hate everything about that. You would miss 2 generations of human life. You would miss 2 generations for the sake of traveling to another system. Would you do it? Might be a question for the podcast or the Spotify Q&A and polls. Yeah, that would suck. I wouldn't do it. Back to the article. The Artemis launched in 2232 to great fanfare. Soon after it was determined to be safely on course, its launch crew entered cryosleep, leaving Janus solely in charge. Janus transmitted regular reports to Earth until 2237, when any communications from it abruptly ceased. Mission Control repeatedly hailed it, but Janus either refused to or could not respond. RSI and multiple governments launched extensive searches, but the Artemis was nowhere to be found. It seemed to have disappeared without a trace. The outcry that resulted from the loss of over 5,000 people was enormous. Although it was not certain that Janus had anything to do with the disappearance of the Artemis, the media vocally blamed it for the catastrophe, citing the lemming car incident and the Mars tragedy as evidence. Politicians on Earth and Mars latched onto the ban of artificial intelligence as a wedge issue, using it as a springboard to secure votes and take office. As promised in hundreds of campaign speeches, they enacted a wave of bans and halted and confiscated any AI research in their jurisdiction. When the United Nations of Earth eventually formed in 2380, distrust of AI was still high enough that the Artificial Intelligence Research and Production Restriction Act, AIRPRA, became one of the newly created government's earliest proposed laws. The Senate approved it in a landslide vote. Criticism. Because the definition of AI under AIRPRA is so broad, critics have pointed out that it has been used to stifle research and technology that is only tangentially related to AI, such as more efficient autopilots for spacecrafts and companies that sell interactive toys. It has also been argued that the secrecy around AI has allowed the government to conduct dangerous research of its own away from the scrutiny of the public, as revealed with the declassification of Project Overlord in 2943. Imperator Leilani Addition promised to loosen restrictions on AI research during her election campaign, stating that, quote, "The goal of technology should always be to help humanity, not replace it, AI included," end quote. In an interview on the popular Spectrum show Clean Shot. Her innovation initiative, launched soon after she took office in 2951, allows the issuance of special waivers to research institutions pursuing the study of AI. Any institution that has received this waiver is eligible for a limited number of government grants and must make all advancements resulting from their research both public and free for all to use. Long article. It's a full-length article. It's timely. It deals with artificial intelligence. At least here in America, we are dealing with kind of the same concepts, the same ideas. I know, being an Amazon employee back in my fulfillment center days, I know replacing humans with robots was a conversation. But we still, we just repurposed our staff. So we have what's called Amazon Robotics. It's where these machines go and they lift up bays of product and they bring those bays to the picker. That's completely turning logistics over on its head, right? There was this wave of, now we have robots in fulfillment centers. We're going to move people. Sure, it decreases the amount of pickers that a fulfillment center needs, but then we just repurpose and allocate them in other parts of the business. We have direct hours or direct functions. We have indirect functions. We just moved a bunch of direct functions into indirect, and they were helping support, decant. I'm kind of nerding out from an Amazon perspective, but it repurposes the humans, right? And so when I look at, this is fake, it starts citizen, I get it, but when I look at this push against artificial intelligence, I agree with the sentiment that it shouldn't replace humans. It shouldn't be the pilot. It should assist them and make things easier, like bringing a bay to the human instead of the human going out to the bays, right? So I'm in agreement with that sentiment from what was her name? Leilani Adisian. I'm saying Adisian. It looks like Addison, but with an extra I at the end. So Adisian. Okay, like I said, 20 short articles. I historically have just gone through these really fast. I will respond if I think it's something worth responding to. So let's go into the Bacchus system. Let's go Bacchus 1, Bacchus 2, Bacchus 3, and we'll start with that. The Bacchus system is a planetary system in the Banu Protectorate that consists of a super Earth, a terrestrial planet, a gas planet, and a binary star system made up of a type G and a type K main sequence star. Believed to be the home system of the Banu people, it is the traditional location of the gathering, an irregularly held convocation of Banu leadership that convenes to make decisions that will affect all Banu people. Myriad well-trafficked trade lanes across the system, linking Bacchus 2 and the Nuso flotilla to the United Empire of Earth via the Garin-Bacchus jump point. Bacchus 1 is the first planet from the suns of the Bacchus system, Banu Protectorate. A massive and dense super-Earth, it has both high gravity and a wide circumference. It is close enough to its suns that parts of its crust liquefy into lava during the day and solidify during the night. That's terrifying. The planet's hot and smoggy atmosphere creates a high-pressure environment, making the already dangerous surface impossible to land on without specialized equipment. Bacchus 2 is the second planet, a temperate terrestrial world blanketed by vast oceans. It is dotted with thousands of populated islands and archipelagos. Good Lord, I've never been able to say that. Archipelagos, and is host to a wide variety of climates and biodiversity. Travel between the islands is common, and water vessels are a popular mode of transportation. Human archaeologists, good Lord, have discovered evidence on Bacchus 2 that suggests it is the original homeworld of the Banu people, though the Banu themselves have not confirmed or validated this. So another terrifying planet because it's basically an ocean planet. Moving on. Bacchus 3 is the third planet, a gas giant with a green and brown atmosphere. It is dotted with swirling clouds that mark the location of violent storms, some of which have raged for hundreds of years. The largest and oldest of these storms was nicknamed Jerry's Eye by human astronomers in honor of the first Banu ever encountered by humanity. The Nuso Flotilla, a convenient marketplace. The Nuso Flotilla is an interconnected fleet of ships located in the Bacchus system. Located near the Gedin-Bacchus jump point, it began as a popular location for Banu merchants to park their ships and set up shop in hopes of attracting human customers. Some ships become permanent residents after considerable profit. Hundreds of ships have since lashed themselves together to create a continuous marketplace. And I immediately think of like a string of Krakens, right? Like Drake Krakens. Like how cool would that be to have 100 Krakens just lashed themselves together. That seems like it'd be pretty cool. All right, the Get-In system, switching systems. The Get-In system is a planetary system located in the Banu Protectorate that consists of an O-type main sequence star and one terrestrial planet. Directly connected to the United Empire of Earth via the Get-In Corel jump point, it is frequently trafficked by haulers moving cargo between the two civilizations. Takto, or Get-In 1, the system's only planet, is a highly respected center of manufacturing. And let's actually read that. A windswept mass of volcanic rock, it is home to a sizable population of Banu who reside beneath the planet's surface. The atmospheric pressure and mixture of gases that would be fatal to Xi'an humans and Tavarin pose no trouble for the Banu. Within deep underground archaeologies? Never seen that word before. Cool. Solis utilize underground volcanoes to produce extremely pure black glass and gray oil, both of which are in high demand. All right, Gliese system. Gliese 1, Gliese 2, Gliese Belt Alpha, Gliese 3. Here we go. The Gliese system is a planetary system in the Banu Protectorate that consists of a Type A main sequence star, 3 terrestrial planets, 1 smog planet, 1 gas giant, 1 protoplanet, an asteroid cluster, and 2 asteroid belts. A bustling hub of commerce and cultural exchange. Its resource-rich planet and asteroid belts have made it a center of trade between the Banu and other civilizations. Most Banu in the system reside in the sprawling Lyris Flotilla, located near the habitable planet Nogo. The Protectorate has allowed humans to set up a colony there, but no Banu live alongside them. Gliese 1, an iron planet with a superheated ferromagnetic core that is partially exposed to vacuum. Its intensely hot conditions make landing on its surface nearly impossible without specialized technology. The planet sees some traffic from humans who say that the planet sees some traffic from humans. I think they forgot to make that plural. Who say that being near the core helps ease pain associated with cybernetic limbs. There is no evidence that this is true, but there are numerous merchants on Nogo that advertise transportation services to and from Gliese 1 based on the popularity of this claim. Gliese 2, smog planet. It has a dense, high-pressure atmosphere of carbon dioxide and nitrogen. Surface conditions on Gliese 2 can be hazardous to many spacecraft if they remain there for too long. Uniquely amongst the other planets in the system, Gliese 2 rotates in a retrograde direction. So I will pause real quick and respond. A couple planets ago, we read about the surface being so hot that a ship would need specialized material to land on. So like that's interesting to me, is you would have to outfit your ship with different parts depending on the planet that you're flying on. That could be an interesting addition or dynamic in Star Citizen. And now you've got this one, right? Hazardous to many spacecraft. Now, there's a difference between getting out and EVAing or getting out and walking. Right? The atmosphere, is it terraformed? Is it not terraformed? Like, that's a common conversation. But what about the environments that could be dangerous to your spacecraft? I think those are interesting things to consider as we move forward in Star Citizen. I'm going to clear my throat real quick. Okay, back at it. The Gliese Belt Alpha. Packed with valuable ores and minerals, it is an active mining site and is home to countless Solis engaged in mining, shipping, processing, or protecting resources. Some disputes over mining rights have broken out between Solis, leading towards an upsurge in the presence of security and mercenary Solis. Gliese 4? 3? Good lord. I was looking at a smaller print. It is Gliese 3. A terrestrial world with an unbreathable atmosphere. It is dotted with various Solis engaged in a wide variety of trades, from farming to mining to manufacturing. Each Soli is located with a sealed settlement to create conditions that are just safe enough to ensure maximum work efficiency. Territories regularly change hands as Solis fold and form. All right, those are all the Glieses. Nogo, Lyris Flotilla, and Gliese Belt Beta, and Gliese 5. Here's a Gliese cluster system and Gliese 6. This is a massive, massive system. Nogo, a lush, temperate planet with an oxygen, nitrogen atmosphere and a variety of climates. It is nonetheless avoided by the Banu. It is unclear why Banu refused to live there, especially in light of ample evidence that they lived there in the past. After a long analysis period that determined that the planet was safe, humans constructed multiple colonies and have lived there ever since. Agricultural exports to the nearby Lyris flotilla make up the bulk of Nogo's economy. Lyris flotilla. Located in an orbit around Nogo, it is the main trade hub in Gliese. It is home to a dense population of Banu. While the shape of the flotilla is ever shifting as ships arrive and leave, the structures at Lyris's heart are hundreds of years old. It is hypothesized that the first ships gathered there were when Nogo was abandoned. Gliese Belt Beta. Located between Nogo and Gliese, it is packed with ancient outposts and abandoned rigs, left there from an earlier period in which resources were abundant. It is a popular salvaging site and is home to a myriad solis in the good lord, I'm trying that again. From an earlier period in which resources were abundant, it is a popular salvaging site and is home to myriad solis in that field. I feel like that's written weirdly. All right, Gliese 5. Clouds of water vapor float in the upper reaches of its hydrogen methane atmosphere, creating bands of white, light gray, and dark gray. Human-owned corporation Terragra uses Gliese 5 as the source of their line of bottled water. The Gliese Cluster Gamma. Only sparsely populated with asteroids, it sees little traffic in comparison with the Alpha and Beta belts. Some smaller solis have made a go of mining in the cluster, despite its remote position and hazardous mining conditions. I gotta clear my throat again. Sorry guys, 1 second. Okay, so much better. Gliese 6, a protoplanet. It is oblate in shape and has no atmosphere. An unknown soli built a statue of Kassa, the patron of luck here in roughly standard Earth year 2200, according to carbon dating. New trade solis departing from the Gliese system leave luck offerings here before starting their first journeys. All right, we're going to end with Tashi Aaron and Sindhu Guerrero. Toshi Aaron, standard Earth year 2802, standard Earth year 2929, was a nav jumper best known for discovering the Stanton system in 2851. Born in the Magnus system, she dreamed of discovering a new jump point since she was a small child. Lacking the funds to commit to her passion of exploring the stars full time, she would take high-risk, high-paying jobs fishing Magnus's oceans, then spend the off-season hunting for jump points. Her hard work paid off in 2851 when she detected an anomaly that would prove to be a jump point to a new system. Aaron reported her discovery to the United Empire of Earth and requested that it be named Stanton in honor of her late brother. And last, Sindhu Guerrero. Goodness. Sindhu, standard Earth year 2902 to present, is a flamenco and psychedelic fusion musician, most notable for his song Sun-Kissed. As a child, he was uninterested in music, but became curious about it in his late teens when his friends needed a singer for their band. He spent the next 5 years immersed in performing with them and learning the guitar and keyboards. When his parents relocated to the Ellis system, he took this as an opportunity to launch a solo act and was soon making headlines for his unique sound and magnetic stage presence. His first hit, Outsider Again, made it into the top 10 of the new United Music chart and secured him a lucrative recording contract. After the release of his second album, he and his family took a trip to the Tal system in 2929, where the sight of the yellow-tinted architecture on Oilxa inspired him to write what would become his record-breaking #1 hit, Sun-Kissed. In 2937, after nearly 2 years of continuous touring and the end of his 10-year contract, Guerrero retired, stating that he'd made enough credits to last a lifetime. He is known to collaborate with other musicians, but has not toured since his retirement. And there you have it. What an episode. So a lot to look forward to in patch 323 that should be coming right around the corner, right? The next couple of weeks, in my opinion. We saw an Inside Star Citizen that talked about EVA, the new changes to EVA, to the personal interactive environment and system. We dove into the Galactapedia update and learned more about the Banu's homeland and home systems. You've been listening to Beyond the Verse podcast with your host Solus. You can get involved in the conversation with your questions, comments, concerns, even your emotional outbursts by emailing us at contact@beyondtheversehq.com or interacting with our Spotify Q&A and polls at the end of each episode over on Spotify. Join our in-game organization, Soul Provision, by applying at www.robertspaceindustriescom/orgs/provision. You can watch our podcasts on video replay over at YouTube at /@BTV_cast. And you can follow us on all social media platforms at /BTV_cast. Once again, thank you for listening. We hope this finds you well. And until next time, safe travels as you traverse Beyond the Verse. Take care, everybody.